My name's Joe Reynoso. I'm the Director of Sales for the Fender Custom Shop. This is Mr. John Cruz, as most of you already know. We're also here with Paul, who is our DSM, Gary, who's the Regional Sales Manager, and Robert Maywalt, who is a Custom Shop Sales Rep. And we're here, just to briefly tell you guys about what we do at the Custom Shop, answer any questions, and I'll give you a real brief overview of the history of the shop. So in 1986, Bill Schultz started the Custom Shop. It was a vision to create a way to build the very best that Fender can build and provide a vehicle for artists and consumers to partner with and invest in Fender's rich legacy and history. Generally, in the beginning, we started making guitars for artists. We'd have them come by, what do you need, what do you want? And, we'd start, getting more and more artists as time went by, and we started to build some momentum. Sooner or later, the cat was let out of the bag, and people, they wanted their own. Well, I'm not a big shop, but I really want an awesome guitar. And that's when we started, all right, we'll start taking some dealers in, we'll start taking some orders from consumers. And, shortly after that, I believe we launched the Diamond Dealer Program.
93.
And I think you'd all be happy to know that Frank and the Music Gallery, they're literally one of the last Diamond dealers. They were one of the first, and they are still one of the strongest stores that we have worldwide. And so I wanted to, for Frank and company, this is 20 years now. Think about that. They've been selling Fender Custom Shop and high-end guitars for 20 years. That's a pretty big deal. It's not easy to do day in and day out, and we applaud you, Frank. So, things kept going, and we got stronger and stronger, and soon we needed to kind of change it up a little bit. We had a distributor in Japan called Yamano, and they started pushing us. Well, we need stuff like this. Our consumers want this, this, and this. We've got guys that have vintage guitars, and they don't want to take them out anymore because they're worth so much money. We want to build, replicas of that. So, Mike Eldred and team, we looked around and we found that we still had a lot of the original tooling that we used throughout the history of Fender. So we have that, much of it in the Custom Shop. What do we exactly have?
There's a lot of the tooling. We still have a lot of the old presses and punches and some pin routers and stuff for doing the original bridge parts and pickguard material and all that stuff. And that's kind of iconic to the company that started it back in, in the '54, the first Stratocaster stuff. So who wouldn't want to buy something that has like a lot of the same tooling that we're applying to our stuff today? It's just kind of cool. There's not a lot of companies that do that anymore, that have those capabilities. There's a lot of new age stuff that comes out for making old part stuff, but it just kind of misses the mark a little bit. So it's good to know that we still have some of the same things to do the bridge blocks exactly, milled out exactly the way they were in '54. Plates and everything is the same way. All the saddles and everything are done the same way still. So it's a good thing to have.
Let's think about that. Some of the iconic guitars that you've seen and heard on records, throughout our lifetimes, we make those guitars pretty much the same way. That's a hell of a thought. When Eldred first told me that, I was like, I was blown away.
Yeah.
So you're buying a 56 Strat so that you can play it live, because you don't want to play your 56 original, but there's many of the same, it was that same guitar was built using the same components as your vintage model.
And some of the original people are still there. Well, Abigail, of course, who's now retired, has been with Fender since the early '50s and was winding pickups until just a couple months ago and stuff. So it's kind of cool to have that. We still have some of our original neck shapers. Herbie Gastelum is one of the guys. He's still there from '61, and he's been there ever since, and he's still there. Keeps saying he's going to retire, but he's still there. And it'll be a sad day when he's gone. But we're the next force of, the legacy of Fender, and hopefully we can carry the torch the way those guys did in the beginning.
So, as time went on, the Custom Shop got better and better at what they do. And I still remember one of my first calls with Frank. He had some concerns about certain things, and over the next year and a half, 2 years, we learned from you. We learned from our accounts, our dealers, our friends, our artists. We're constantly improving, and right now, I would say that these past 5 years have been the best 5 years that we've had as far as just straight quality, is the relicking, the entire process, the wood selection that we've been getting, the way everything works. And, you know, it's guys like John that make that happen. I mean, you know, the sales and marketing guys, you know, we try to get you excited, but the real magic, what we do can't happen unless they're doing their job. I marvel at it. I'm there. I visit once a week, and it's like you're in a Toys R Us, you know. But when you were a kid, it's like your parents taking you to the toy store. It's a wonderful thing.
It's also good to have feedback from customers like yourself, from the dealers, of course. It kind of feeds our fire to what we can come up with in the future, what we can improve on, what people want to see out there. That's a good thing to have out there, and we thank you guys for that, for all your input stuff. It goes a long ways with us. It really, really does.
You know, we're one of the only companies that if you call me or you call Frank and you say, I want a guitar built like this, we'll build that guitar for you, that one. Whether it's team built, master built, we'll do that for you. You know, what we've been trying to do is to serve you the best that we can. And by the Time Machine series, by the limited editions that we've been doing. And I remember the SRBs when we first put those out, and hearing, you know, John Mayer call us up and, you know, where's this one? I got this one. I paid this much for that one. And it's just like, are you kidding me? And that's when we really felt it.
Yeah.
You know, my name is Joe, like I said. I've been with Fender for 13 years now. This is the greatest job I've ever had in my entire life, because it's not really a job. You can still get the same stresses, but it's unbelievable. You get to talk about guitars all day. You get to talk about designing guitars all day. You get to talk about the meat, the guts, the wood. You know, where we get that wood. What wood is going to make the best tone? What pickups are people buying? You know, what do people? That's our life, and it's incredible. You know, so John, how long have you been with Fender?
This is 26 years and counting.
26 years.
Yep.
That's a lifetime.
Yeah, it is for me, since I'm only 27, so. No, it's been a long haul. It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in putting into this product that I truly believe in. And I've played Fender for years and years, and it's like, to actually have the opportunity to work for a company that I love, it's a fantasy come true. And to be able to create and to meet people like you guys that are buying the product and they're digging it, and when you bring your guitars in, you say, man, I bought this one, it's like the greatest guitar I ever had, that makes me feel good. It makes us all feel good. It makes us want to go back and do something better for the next time, so we can keep you guys as customers, keep coming back for more. That's the name of our game. That's what we do. It was a great gig to have, and I just learned along the ways. I got to work with Herbie right off the bat. You know, 6 months into it, I got pulled into a neck shaping position, which is like, all right, man, I'm on my way. I learned how to shape necks with one of the best in the industry, and that was Herbie. And he showed me the do's and don'ts, and I messed up a lot of necks in the beginning, man. I really did, and it's like we all do. It just happens, but you learn it after a while, and you stick with it, and you keep going with it. And I stayed with it for a few years. I got to be pretty good at it. Got into fretting, got into laminating the boards, everything, all the right shapes and everything, and just kind of started working my way up through buff and polish, through the mill area. Was doing bodies for a while, selecting woods for bodies and gluing blanks together, cutting out bodies, and you know, it was a wood shop era of my career there, and eventually got the call to come into the final area, which they needed an assembler. So I jumped at it. I was like, yeah, out of the mill for a while, man, to get to work, and you know, what I wanted to do was build guitars. So I learned a lot from a lot of the people who were there already, wiring harnesses, you know, all the wiring pickguards and everything, making pickguards, installing pickups, and then worked my way up into tune testing guitars, which was a dream for me. Getting paid to actually play guitar all day long. It's like, I don't need to work anywhere else ever again.
So let me stop you really quick. So when you were doing pickguards, that's all you were doing?
At that point,
for a period of time?
Yeah, there was about 4 or 5 months of just building pickguard assemblies.
So you're at that point, you were the best at what you were doing?
Well, I don't know if I was the best at it.
Wow,
I was deeply involved, I must say. And my thing was, it's like, you know, half these guys are probably never going to take this guitar apart and see what's going on underneath. But I got to make sure I do my best, because there's going to be somebody out there that is going to take the guitar apart, and they're going to look at it and they're going to go, wow, who did this? So that was my mindset for anything that I did in the future, was going to be that mindset. I got to do the best at whatever I can do to make this somebody's #1 guitar, and hopefully I can live up to that reputation.
So right now there's somebody on the custom shop team build team that's doing exactly what you did. And
Yeah.
and that's where y'all get started, right?
Yep.
Team build guitars.
Yep, and the master builders have a lot to do with team build training and stuff like that. A lot of the guys that come over that worked on the line for a few years, they do things beautifully on the line, but when you're in a custom shop, it's a different animal. It's a whole different mindset. Attention to detail is very important with everybody. So they look to us for training and guidance, and we have no problem doing that because that reflects us in the end in the custom shop. So just know when you're getting a custom shop piece, whether it be master build, team built guitar, you're going to get the very best that we can build out of that shop.
It's very cool. So if somebody who's doing this in team build, they're the expert at that in the company.
Yeah.
And they're going to move on to something else.
Sure.
And eventually, potentially, move on to become a
Well,
master
that's
builder.
usually the goal for a lot of people. Some of them don't really care. They just love coming in and doing what they do. They know that, master build, it's not an easy job to do. It's a great job, and it's glorious and this and that. And you get to travel, we get to meet people like you, which is something I've always wanted to do. But it takes a lot of years to get up there, and I think I paid my dues to get up to where I'm at, and I'm not ready to let it go.
So you've been a master builder for,
Oh, jeez, I want to say 10, 11 years,
10,
maybe
11
going on
years.
12 years now almost.
who are some of the artists that you've built for, going back, starting in the old days?
Jeez. It goes back a long ways, man. There's so many of them. One of the earliest things I did, I think even before I was a master builder, before I got into the apprentice program, I got a chance to do a Telecaster for Bono from U2. And they were doing something for the, I forgot what tour it was, the Zoo tour or something like
Zoo
that.
TV tour,
Zoo
yeah.
TV tour.
Are we forgetting one?
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't build it for him because he was already gone.
Well, I
at the
know
time,
that.
But I've built a guitar for Jimmy Vaughn, that's Stevie's brother. And then I was also asked to do, some of the early guitars. The Rory Gallagher was one of the first ones, tribute series that I was involved in, to try to nail, and I did that one. There's a whole story behind that was unbelievable. Making that guitar for his brother Donnell, who got to see it, and he opened the case back at home and just like, oh my God, this is eerie, because it looked so close to his brother's guitar. And I did a Muddy Waters tribute telly that I did. That was a lot of fun doing that one, but I think the #1 one was #1, and that was the opportunity to work with the Vaughn family with Stevie's guitar. And Stevie's like one of my heroes growing up, as I'm sure he is with a lot of you folks. The actual, all the measurements, weights, everything were given to me, and I was able to come up with a prototype. And I spent probably three and a half months working on a prototype before I gave it back to Mike Eldred. And he ended up taking it out to Jimmy and showing it to him, and Jimmy just looked at, yeah, man, that's it. That's it. Signed off on it. It's done. 100 pieces sold.
So this was one of the first ones that we did since when we started the showcase program.
Yeah,
We sold all of them in a day.
right.
And it was the first one I was a part of. This was an introduction to the world for you as an artist, as a builder. Did you see over the year that these shipped, after that, like your demand increasing?
It's funny you say that, because I'd already become a master builder at that time. It was a little slow getting off the start for me. The ones I did was a leopard covered Telecaster for NAMM. And custom inlay up all down. It was a beautiful guitar, just a leopard print foil cover on the top with a sunburst around the outer edge. That right there showed them there's a new guy that's building guitars now, and that was my chance to start getting my name noticed. And when this landed in my lap, I think this kind of pushed me up to where, like, hey, this guy's the real deal. He's into it, and this turned into like order after order after order of custom guitars coming in. And by this time, the Relic series was just starting to take off. Or, I mean, it was already going, but it was just starting to, like, who could we trust to do these? And there was myself, there was John English, a couple of the other builders that were doing them at the time. And English was the one that I sat with in the early parts of the Relic series and got some training with him and how we came up with a lot of the ideas for how we stain our guitars. Him and I worked hand in hand on how we do that. And I miss John, man. He's gone now, obviously, but his legacy lives on through me, I think, and I don't want to let him down. It's flattering to know that people say, man, you've done really good stuff, man, and I know you've worked with English and pretty much all the master builders in the past. That's a good thing to know, that I've worked with all those guys, and hopefully I can live up to the reputation of those guys.
So who's your favorite artist to build for? I mean, who calls you the most? Who says, hey, man?
Well, at one time I got a few calls from Mayor. There was a lot, and he's really a nice guy. I mean, he actually came into the shop, and one time he just came back from a trip from Mexico. He's coming in, his hair's all ratted, comes in, he's all like half asleep. And we sat down for a while. We were talking to my area about another guitar that he wanted to do. It was the Continuum tour that was coming up, and I built him that Strat, which he ended up giving away. And he's like, man, I wish I would have never did that, because that neck was magic. But he goes, I brought along one of my friends with me. I want to introduce you to him. I go, okay, cool. And it was Jessica Simpson. It just walked in. I'm like, ah! You know, but it was a cool thing to get to deal with him and obviously meet her, because I'm a big fan of her work, and she's just the most beautiful thing on earth. But it was cool to work with John. He's like one of my favorites to build with. And you know, there's other guys. Yngwie Malmsteen. He's really good with the people of Fender. He's really a good guy to work with. I built several guitars for him, and he plays them, you know, nightly still. And you know, those are probably my two top guys that I like to build for.
So what was your favorite project?
Most memorable project is probably this one right here, number one, because there was just so much heartache put in this thing to make it right, and figuring out tooling and figuring out how am I going to do this, man. You know, I stayed up late many a time, a lot of coffee drinking, and a lot of just like, honey, come to bed. I can't. I'm thinking about something, and it's just, you know, I'd come in, I'd work long hours just to try to get this to look right. You know?
All of this, everything was just painstaking.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, it was something, a labor of love, pretty much, and finally came together, and when I knew Jimmy loved it and stuff, I knew that everybody else would too. So that was the most memorable project. There's been other ones, like this little thing right here was something I did because I'd go to the show and I'm looking around and I was like, what do people want to see? And it was a Sunday afternoon. I came in one time and there's a lot of guys that are coming in after being there all weekend buying guitars or dealers. But Sunday's the day that they can bring everybody in. They bring their families in. Of course, they bring little Egbert in. He who comes in, it's, you know, it's so-and-so's son, you know, and he's like 6 years old. He really wants to have a guitar, but he's not big enough to hold one of these guitars yet, you know. There's something we could do. So the next year I got to thinking about how cool would it be to have something to fit in with the kids in mind. So I came up with this idea. It's like, it would be cool to do a little mini Strat, you know, a little biker kid, man, his dad's got a Harley, you know, $50,000 Harley and a, you know, $3,000 guitar. How cool would it be to have his son out there wrenching on his bike inside the garage and going in the house and playing guitar with his dad. So that was the mindset of this. So it just goes to show you some of the things that the builders can do when they put their minds to. This is like a year thinking about something like this. But we all have our time to come up with ideas and stuff and to show at the trade shows and stuff like that.
John will be available after the event to take you for a $5 ride. Just fill out a waiver, but you know, formality. What specification have people paid the most detail to? From you know, someone like me to someone like John or Eric or, you know, anybody, any of the major players?
Well, a lot of them, they want a guitar that talks to them right off the bat. Like I was talking to these two brothers right here. They were like, you know, they go through several guitars. Yeah, this one sounds good, but it's not quite right. Well, this one sounds good. It's great. It's got a great feel, but it's still not quite. Then they pick up one. It's like, oh, this is it. So a lot of it for me has to do with the neck. That's the first and foremost thing. You know, the weight, the color, the look, and everything is pretty easy to get done, but it's got to feel right. Especially when I do my Relic series guitar, I want it to feel like an old shoe, you know, that you would wear every day. It's like it's well broken in, great feeling guitar. It's not something you're just going to take you a while to get used to. I want you to be used to it right out of the box, man. That's the way it's got to be. So that's kind of like the attention to details. I mean, obviously I put a lot of details into my wiring, my buffing, my fretting, my fret dressing, all that stuff's important, but the feel of the neck, back shape, the roll, everything has got to be top notch. And if it gets by me and some of the people I let play my guitars at work and stuff like they like it, then I have a pretty good idea that I think the customer's going to dig it too.
When you're looking for a piece of wood, or two pieces of wood for a guitar, I mean, what do you look for? I mean, are there any tricks that you have in picking out a piece of wood, or is there like, you know, you hear everybody wants a lightweight guitar. I mean,
right.
For me, I like a medium weight.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
What's the magic there?
Well, wood is wood. That's all there is to it. No two pieces of wood are ever the same. They're all going to sound a little bit different, but I have a tendency to go out in the mill because we have a lot of blanks that are already glued up. A lot of times put aside for custom shop stuff, and usually I'll come in early in the morning and I'll run out there and just kind of pick up a few pieces of wood and actually tap them, kind of hear the resonance of the wood. I'm kind of looking for that extra vibration coming through the wood of a body blank, you know, whether it be ash or alder or mahogany or whatever. So it's got to speak right there. If it's kind of a dead type of wood, I won't use it. Not to say that it's a bad piece of wood, it's just not what I'm looking for, especially for some of my customers that want something that's kind of light but resonant, really resonant, that just rings to you. So I pay a lot of attention to that. Same thing if you don't know a lot about how the wood's cut for some of the necks. There's flat sawn, there's a rift cut sawn that's cut like at an angle. There's quarter sawn that's cut vertically on it there. And I find that quarter sawn pieces of wood, to me, are the best stability wood there is out there, depending on where you're from. Especially here, the humidity, the heat, going to sub-freezing 0 temperatures. You got to have something that's going to hold up on that. And I think about that when I think about people from Wisconsin, from Chicago, from New York in the winter years. My heart's with you. So I try to do what I can to give you guys the best wood that I know is going to last a lifetime.
What do we have here?
This is a quarter sawn piece of maple,
Look. Wanna look closely, you
tight
can see
quarter sawn.
the bottom end of it, how it's vertical.
Yeah. And is it a different sound? It varies a little bit. To some ears, it might not make a difference at all. To some, yeah, it's a big difference. Well, to me, I don't really notice it. I just know if it feels good, if it's going to be stable, I'll make it work.
It's stronger. I mean, you know, baseball players, when they
yeah,
like their bat,
yeah.
they want something to hit.
Exactly.
Like
exactly. Now, a lot of the early vintage stuff was flat sawn, which is more of a cut this way. Beautiful. It's a good resonant wood. It sounds good and everything, but it's really spongy wood, especially coming out here in the humidity, the heat, the cold. It's going to move on you. You're going to have to constantly be adjusting the neck. I've noticed that with some of the guitars that I've done in California. We have those weather climate changes as well, and we have to adapt to that. So I kind of tend to stay away from that type of wood. I'll use it if somebody wants it, but for me, the quarter sawn stuff is the best. And I usually like the non-figured stuff for my Relic series stuff, because that's kind of how the early 50s and 60s stuff was. You didn't see a whole lot of figured wood back in those days, even though there were pieces out there. Some of them have some of the originals that have that, and we have that stuff all day long. If that's what somebody wants, you'll get it. But for my liking, in my opinion, I think, you know, figured wood like that is made for furniture. You know, I like guitars that are just basic guitars that just sound great and are going to last a lifetime.
Are there a lot of odd requests coming in for wiring for, you know, there's so much we can do.
Yeah, I'll wire something completely vintage if somebody wants it, but we got so many newer players that are up and coming that want some more modern type of wiring jobs on their guitars, whether it be a series parallel or, you know, I've done stuff recently, and I think I got some stuff coming to Frank that I'm going to start using a blend pot in the last tone, which will, you know, in the number 1 position, which is this pickup right here, you can turn this and you'll blend these 2 pickups together. That gives you a totally different sound. Who would have thought of that? That's something really cool to have. In the number 2, 3, and 4 position, which, you know, number 2 is obviously these 2 pickups, 3 is obviously your middle, 4 is these 2, but in these 3 positions right here, blending this again was going to give you all 3 pickups, which gives you another dimensional sound. It's a different type of sound, which is cool. And then here again, obviously it's the same thing where you can blend these 2 together again. So it's, instead of a 5-way switch, it's almost like an 8-way switch is what it is. There's all kinds of new things we can do that with. We can do the same type of thing with our S1 switch. This is a push-push switch that's built into the volume knob, which is kind of cool. A lot of people have that too. But I like to try to keep the guitar as stock looking as possible, but still have some of the modifications, present day modifications now that people are requesting, and we're able to do that. You know, I don't really have a lot more to talk about than what we've talked about so far, but I just wanted to, I don't get a chance to get out often to meet people like you, but when I do, it's a treat for me, and it's an honor for me actually to come out here and meet you guys. And I just want to say thank you so much for supporting Fender's brand, and for supporting Frank and his glorious 20 years and supporting us. And you know, when you're ready to buy, you guys know where to come. If you're local guys here, you come talk to Frank. He'll take care of you. Of course, he's going to talk to us. We know that you customers are coming in. Oh man, Frank's got an order coming in. I want to take care of this guy. You're always going to get the best stuff from us. And again, I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Really do appreciate it.